Buddy Buck here. We are at the cabin. I'm about to interview Brandon Petterson from Anchored Vines and Morgan Henley from Morgan Henley Presents. Super excited about this. These are some of the most successful entrepreneurs. Let's go check it out.
I agree with your sentiment that learning from other people's mistakes is important, but I think you learn the most from your own.
Why are you taking that extra half a day maybe to be there and be present, even though you've already essentially got paid for it?
Being a part of the community and helping out where needed really drives my soul still in what I'm doing here. But there becomes a point where you have to value your worth.
So I think it's important for people to know, like, you can collaborate with people in your own industry and in totally different industries. All right, Buddy Buck here. We are at the Rustic Cabin Coffee in Duval, Washington, AKA The Cabin. Nate and Maggie are the owners here, amazing entrepreneurs themselves. We'll be getting to them in a future episode. But today, I have the privilege of having Mr. Duval, Mr. Morgan Henley here with Morgan Henley Presents and several other businesses that he runs. And then also Mr. Brandon Petterson of Anchored Vines. So thanks for being here, boys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for the invite.
Good stuff, yeah.
Thanks for having us, buddy.
Short notice, you know. Another bonus of being an entrepreneur is you got your own schedule, right?
True same.
I mean,
Kinda.
Good and bad, right? So yeah, today what I thought we'd just talk about being an entrepreneur, what that looks like. You know, the up and coming generation. It's like, do I want to go on my own? My mom told me to get a good job with benefits and work hard and, you know, do the whole grind and hopefully you get retirement someday, right? And we know that may or may not be true in 2024, but how long have you been in business for yourself, Morgan? Why don't you just tell us a little bit?
I started in the events and entertainment business, booking, producing, promoting in 2006.
Okay.
And then gone through many different variations of what that looked like. Went through a couple partnerships, and then since 2017, I created Morgan Henley Presents, which is the LLC that I run under now. After 2020, I was working in the restaurant industry as well as doing music promotions and events.
Right.
And then in 2020, obviously the whole world changed, and I decided I didn't want to do that anymore.
Right.
So I've made the call to just do events, and my business Morgan Henley Presents coming out of the pandemic, and
Nice.
since that I've been blessed with countless opportunities and blessings to take my business to other levels and achieve a lot of goals that I set forth to do.
Nice.
And it's definitely a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's not for the faint-hearted.
That's right.
Or the unmotivated.
Right.
You got to be able to take a lot of shots and get back up and keep going and reorganize and refocus. And
Yeah.
you're always grinding. You're always looking for new opportunities, new ways to grow, new people to collaborate with. Because I think that's a big part of being an entrepreneur is, sure, entrepreneur is thought of as you're doing it on your own, right?
Right.
But you're not. You need help from other like-minded people, like-minded businesses. Collaboration is very key in what I do. I wouldn't be anywhere in the events and entertainment business where I'm at right now if it wasn't for collaborating and working with other individuals.
So when you say event, because I know it's music, right? So tell me about just one typical event. Like, what is an event?
So I do varying events. Like I did 143 events last year, which is by far a record for me.
Nice.
And that's anywhere between a solo singer-songwriter at a coffee shop like this.
Yep.
And then the other extreme of that is a 4-day music festival that we do down at the property I grew up on, Brody Nation Music Festival in Carnation.
Yep.
And then everything in between, creating music series for different venues. Duval Tavern, I've done a music series there every Saturday during the summer since 2018.
Nice.
And then other various things. So in the details of what my involvement and all those they vary as well.
Brandon, let's jump into your entrepreneurism. What are you up to, man? Because you have a product that a lot of people like. Let's be honest.
Wine is typically enjoyed by many. Anchored Vines was a product of leaving the military, having a career in technology, and during the pandemic, much like with Morgan, it changed a lot of things. And for me, it gave me an opportunity to follow more of a passion project. My time in Europe just really gave me the opportunity to fall in love with wine, obviously, and moving here to Washington State, which is really one of the best wine regions in the world, if you want my opinion. I wanted to be involved with the industry. I wanted to get to know the people and sit down with the folks that, in my view, turn science into artistry. Along with that, I saw a gap in that, wine isn't very approachable to a lot of people. Not from a price point perspective, but just a lot of people don't know enough about it to make decisions.
Me.
And
that's what the waiters, the hosts are for. It's like, I don't know, red or white. Like, that's about my palate, dude.
There you go. I enjoy helping people understand why they like what they do, finding more of it at a price point that's comfortable for them.
Yeah. So how long have you owned your own business?
Anchored Vines actually officially is only 2 years old.
2 years old. Awesome.
Several years in the making, and really it's kind of a...
In the making where? Here?
Mostly here.
Yeah. Right.
Mostly
in
here.
There. Okay.
But honestly, it's kind of a long game in that, when my wife and I returned to Europe, we fell in love with the area, the people.
Yeah.
And it's really my end goal to kind of return to that place with the knowledge that I'm gaining, the networking I'm doing here in the States, and become a winemaker myself. And just enjoy that other part of the industry. So it's a lot of fact finding, honestly.
Yeah.
And I just hope to bring my expertise and passion to this town and obviously the surrounding area in a great wine place to live.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you mentioned military, so I can't let that go. So how long did you serve? And then, going from military to entrepreneur, do you feel like there's a lot of your friends that were in the military that are also thinking like, hey, when I get out, there's all these passion projects, right? There is life after maybe a job or the military where you can venture out on your own. You did it.
Absolutely. I think that the military offers great opportunities for education, for traveling, and really just growing as a person. I once thought that I'd be in an IT field the rest of my life. The wine industry kind of crept up on me in my final years in the military.
Okay.
And it was just something I knew I wanted to do. And of course, everybody who leaves the military feels a need to maybe break away from what they've been doing for decades. So it was a combination of those two things, but I'm also in a privileged position where my 9 to 5, as far as paying the bills, I can pursue more of a passion project. Not everybody has that opportunity, so unfortunately some people have to keep doing what they know to pay the bills.
Right. That's a really good point.
But I would always encourage folks to, think about what you want to do when you grow up. And again, much to what Morgan was saying, you don't get there alone.
Yeah.
My wife has been a huge inspiration and a huge supporter of this, along with, friends like yourself, the community. We learn and grow together.
Right.
It takes a village.
Gosh,
and,
absolutely.
I'm happy that Duval is my village.
Yeah. Oh, heck yeah, let's go.
Oh.
Team D. Team Duval. So what would you say to maybe it's a younger audience that's going, man, I don't want a job. I don't want to, because especially, some of the younger generation coming up through COVID, it's like things got real weird, right? In important decision-making time for a lot of these, up and comers. And so what would you say the coolest thing about being an entrepreneur? Like, it's just one thing that jumps out, to you. It doesn't have to be about your specific field, but just one thing that you're just I love being an entrepreneur because...
You don't have to worry about getting fired if you're late. That's pretty cool.
That's a good one. Brandon, what about you?
I think being a pioneer in something, in anything, is big or as small as it may be, is fun because you have the chance to inspire others.
Yeah.
And it puts you in a, kind of a big fish, small pond scenario where you are your own boss. The decisions you make, can make or break you, right? And that's scary, but it's also fulfilling.
Yeah.
So along with, not getting yelled at by the boss, other than my wife, I think there's a lot of power in making your own destiny, forging your own path.
Yeah.
And that's something else that needs to be said about being an entrepreneur is, there's no 40 hours.
It's never
you're
off,
not
man.
clocking in and,
Right.
tracking 40 hours or whatever. It could be, one week could be 15 hours, the next week could be 60 hours of work, and you really have to have that drive and understanding and keep that motivation to move forward and really look at and cherish the highlights of what you're doing.
Right.
Because there will be trials and tribulations and speed bumps throughout the way, but you got to be tough and not let those bring you down.
Yeah. You got to be tough. That should be the tagline for every entrepreneur. You got to be tough.
Seriously. Willing to grow and willing to fail too, definitely. Yeah, because there will be failures. Right. And you can't let those take you down.
Yeah, and that's a big part of why this is a passion project for me is to interview successful entrepreneurs, because the best mistake is my dad taught me a lot of this stuff. So growing up, just so you guys know, my mom was like, get a good job, do the whole safe route, which is, traditional, work for 40 years, and then after 40 years, hopefully you get 40% of the paycheck that you hated the first time. So it's just, that's one way to go. And then the world changed a little bit. And so my dad owned a tractor dealership growing up. I was just, when I was born, it was my grandfather's, Papa, and then it was my dad's. And then I always thought I was going to be in the tractor business, which, he ended up selling that in the 80s. And, so I was like, do I go W-2 or do I go, 1099, which is basically how you get paid if you're self-employed. And so long story very short, it was like, I did both. I started as a bank teller and did the whole Sound Credit Union job thing. And when I was 25, I realized I absolutely hate this, and again, I didn't hate the credit union. I loved the credit union. I loved Sound Credit Union. I loved the experience it gave me, some of the people I met, I'm still friends with today. But it just was not for me. But I had to go ride that wave and see. And then I was like, So I haven't had a job since I was 25. And, it's been it's been 5 years now since, that. But anyway, I lost my hair. That's not going to slip by anyway. No. So 48, proud of it, because again, I'm 16 in my head and, whatever. But I think those pitfalls are super important where, the audience can learn from, the best way to learn is from other people's mistakes. Right? I think, if we had a perfect scenario, it's like, Morgan is like, I really screwed this up. I'm like, cool, taking notes, thank you. And I will try to avoid that landmine, right? And so what are some pitfalls or maybe a big mistake that you guys made?
I agree with your sentiment that learning from other people's mistakes is important, but I think you learn the most from your own. It's kind of like, it's easy to give someone advice, but you often don't follow your own, right? So
that's so good.
I mean, for me, if I heard about something somebody else did, I might think to avoid that, but odds are I'm really not going to get it.
You're charging right into the same mistake. Yeah. So it's like, oh shit, he was right.
Something that I'm still working on and figuring out, and it's very important, I believe, in entrepreneurship, is valuing yourself and valuing your work. And I mean, I think all of us here, and we got a videographer, a photographer, it's tough because some people don't see the value in what you're doing because they don't understand it, right? Especially for what I'm doing. People, I don't think a lot of people have been involved in events. They don't understand the behind the scenes stuff that go into it, all the hours and all the work and all the meetings and phone calls and, emails and
so good.
It's crazy. For years, I've done quite a few free events. I've donated my time, which I have no problem with, because I'm doing this in the community that I was born and raised in and that made me who I am today. So I definitely, there is value in that, which is a value that supersedes money, right? Yeah. There's elements to just being a part of the community and helping out where needed that is, it really drives my soul still in what I'm doing here. But there becomes a point where you have to value your worth, right, and monetary worth, because if you don't, you're not going to last.
Right.
Right? So, doing market research on what other people are making, doing the same kind of thing that you are.
Yep.
really like looking into those numbers and trying to see how maybe those numbers fit into the area and the demographic where you're at, right, is important. And I wish I would have put more thought into that in the early years, because I still, to
Into
this
what
day,
specifically? Your own financial worth for what you're doing? Yeah. So I think that's important for people, right? Of day one to go, hey, what is this worth when I have it built out the way I want, right? So
because I'm still very much in the mindset of just do it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm going to do this because it's important.
Right.
It's important to the community. It's important to whoever I'm working with, right? Or musicians and, you know, all that, which is important. But now I truly have to value like how much time I'm putting into this and what my worth is.
Right. Be smart with your time, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about time scheduling. So with your business specifically, do you have a set schedule? I mean, we all know things come up and you just gotta adapt, be flexible and fluid. But do you have like a set schedule, like on Mondays or Tuesdays I do set X, Y, and Z, or do you just kind of know certain things have to get done during the week and then you just kind of attack the week as a more of a broad time?
I think it falls under kind of that be your own boss, you know. When adulting, you just know when your work needs to be done, whether that's early morning, whether that's late at night. You know, the wine business has a timeline, right? When the grapes are grown, when the grapes are harvested, when the bottling is done, when the new releases come out. Like these are all things that are typically known on a year-long calendar. So there are slow months, you know.
So you got your seasons, yeah.
In the wintertime, nothing's growing. You know, tasting, there aren't really people out and about, you know, hitting all the wineries. So
yeah, that makes sense.
It can be a quiet time, but then when spring and summer roll in, everybody's out. This weekend is the annual Taste Washington Grand Tasting event down in Seattle. So
it's gonna be 70. Holy cow! Let's go.
And we'll be inside, but I mean, it's a great place to showcase what makes Washington, again, one of the best wine regions in the world. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of you know, shaking hands and sipping wine, and you know, as traumatic as that may be for me, I'm going to do it.
What's interesting from earlier, we're talking about like you came from military to self-employed, and then you know, you already heard my kind of route. I think it's good for everyone to know, like, you can just come in straight into entrepreneur and just like have your own business out the gate, or you could do a job, you could do both. Like, there's a million ways this can go. And I think at the end of the day, for me, it's just all about, like you mentioned, passion project, right? And I think, well, I know this because I know you guys, it's like what you're doing really freaking matters to you guys. Like, wine and your business matters. Like, what you're doing and the core of Duval, like, it matters, you know what I mean? And so when my wife and I moved to Duval 5.5 years ago, it was like, I'm like, where am I? Like, what? And I didn't even really know what Duval was, which is crazy, but, you know, because we just lived in Kirkland. But it's just, there was never a reason to come to Duval. Like, she did a pitching clinic or something, but I immediately, after a couple of years, I realized what's really going on here, and this is special, right? And I think those passion projects, whether it's Morgan growing up here, or my story with the tractor business, or your story growing up through the military, it's just like, follow what you love. And dude, there's so many ways to get paid doing what you love.
I don't think anyone should walk away with this with an idea that, you know, if I'm not building a business in my garage and going all in from the get-go and becoming a billionaire, I'm not a true entrepreneur.
Right.
I don't think that's the case at all. I think a real entrepreneur isn't based on a monetary figure. It's really about what you provide to your community, to your customers.
Yeah.
And
that's really good.
Are you offering a product that actually stands out, whatever that may be?
Yeah. So with you on the scheduling, because we heard from Brandon already, do you, like, tomorrow, you're going to wake up. Do you have like a, like there's a certain flow, like it's getting done, or is your schedule just changed like all the time?
I usually start out with emails. That can go anywhere between, you know, an hour to 5 hours. Then I'll get a phone call from somebody, and that, you know, could totally steer my day in another direction. This guy,
Hey man, I ask for what I want. What am I gonna say? Like,
meetings, you know, I don't know, anywhere between 2 and 10 meetings a week. some online, others in person.
Yeah.
I'm still kind of the in-person guy. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not,
that's good, man.
I'm not bought in on the whole internet meeting thing. I don't find it personal at all.
Right.
But and then the weekends, I have shows that I try to attend because I think that's important in my
Support
job. Well, that puts me in a different realm than most promoters or talent buyers. And I've heard this countless times from musicians that, the one thing that blows them away is that I'm there.
That's cool.
And I'm there to help facilitate the event, try to troubleshoot if anything comes up. I also am a photographer too, so I take photos of all the events, which I can then give to the bands for promo for them. Because photography for bands at this moment in time has never been more important with social media and using all those for promo aspects. I try to have a schedule, and just the nature of what I do, it's tough to have like a honed down week to week, day to day schedule.
So back to what you said about being at your own shows, so the shows you're booking out. Why do you think, because the rest of the market isn't necessarily doing that, what you've heard, your feedback, you said, why was that important to you? Like to actually, because you're still going to get paid if you're not at the show, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's important for the audience to know, like, hey, it's not just about turning and burning and on to the next show. Like, why are you taking that extra half a day maybe, or whatever the time frame is, to be there and be present, even though you've already essentially got paid for it?
Yeah.
Like, why is that important?
Well, one reason is for tax purposes, because I can write off the mileage.
There you go.
Oh, your word.
Check with your CPA. We are not tax professionals, but we do our damn best.
Well, I do a ton of driving for my business. So, the real reason is I'm a part of the music community, and that's extremely important to me, and I value that. And I know the musicians value it too, me being there. And I have friendships with all these musicians that I work with, right? And
it's deeper, yeah.
And I've heard one person told me not too long ago. One musician was like, "Dude, I've worked for this. I can't remember what venue said, but it's like I've played shows there for 10 years, and I've never met the talent buyer.
Wow.
We've only communicated over email. And
that's kind
to
of
me,
crazy,
that's
man.
like, that's just somebody. I feel like they don't enjoy their job,
right?
Like they're just doing this for a paycheck, and
and maybe they are. It's just
But like I was raised around music. My earliest memories are musicians playing down at our property on the hippie stage, and I was immersed in this arts and hippie culture of Duval in the 80s and 90s. Yeah. And I remember going to all sorts of different properties all over this community, and there was functions like every weekend, and so. I may not play an instrument, but music is part of who I am and my soul, and gathering and being there and seeing, what I'm creating is something that I've definitely noticed since I quit drinking, which is a whole nother story too, because that totally changed my perspective on this business and life and everything. But
told you that podcast is coming. But getting it all.
But one of the things that I'll have a tough day or like an event, but once I see people enjoying this creation that I help facilitate, smiling, talking to each other, communicating like we're supposed to do as human beings, in which more and more we're torn apart from that aspect of being human. I find that it's extremely important. And doing that in this community too is extremely important. Putting people together so they can meet each other. Hang out, talk story. Their kids can hang out, and one of my favorite things is watching the kids enjoy the music too, because it reminds me of me when I was a child.
So I think it's important for people to know, like, you can collaborate with people in your own industry. Absolutely. And in totally different industries, like totally off the wall. Like I just, being in real estate for a long time, and then just thinking out of the box, like how can we collaborate with, obviously a coffee shop's easy because it's like, you got to meet somewhere and all these different things. But I just love where it's like wine can connect to events, can connect to videography or whatever. And if people just think out of the box, like you said earlier, B, there's no rules for entrepreneur, right? Like you just do whatever. If it works, it works. Like if it doesn't, scrap it and move on to the next project. But I know at the core of all of it for me is networking. And I don't just mean like surface level. You know, a lot of times people say networking is how many people you know, which might be the definition, Webster's or whatever, but to me, it's not as many people as you know, it's the depth of the network. I know, Brandon, for you, like I just say you're a gangster networker. That's what I'm gonna say. Because I can tell you're very proactive about it. You're in Rotary, you're the president of our chamber, Duval Chamber, let's go. Beep.
Shameless.
Talk about like your mindset towards networking, collaboration, like why are you, dude, you already have like so much going on. You're joining Rotary, you're in the chamber. Like, how do you have time to do all this? And why do you feel like this is so important to make the time for that?
I think a lot of it comes from, again, being in the military and being a transient for so long, never being able to establish roots anywhere in particular. For a while, I didn't live in the same place since I was 18 years old. So when I moved here, I wanted nothing more than to be a townie.
Cool.
To, especially in a small town, to know people, to be counted on, to be that go-to guy. Like, hey, I've got a problem. Here's my short list of people I can call, and they'll be there.
That's cool.
While joining the chamber was awesome from a business perspective, naturally self-serving. Being a member of the Rotary Club is all community service-based, right? So it's not about me, it's about everybody else. So I wanted to be well-rounded in that I was doing something for myself, but at the same time growing others in both business and personal capacities. So to me, getting involved with the folks who built this town is going to help me be someone to continue to build this town in the future. So that's why I do it.
Travis and I talked about this too, is just like at least having a core group of people in said area, wherever people live, you have your own spots and where you grew up and where it's important to you. But like for me, like I grew up in University Place and our community is very tight. Like there's one high school, Curtis High School, and there was no like feeder schools, so everyone got really, really tight because we were in the same. There was one school from 7th grade to senior year. It's like I'll text a friend from kindergarten, and my wife's like, "You guys still talk?" I'm like, "You don't?" Like I thought everyone did. This is not normal, and so I totally get that having that community. But now, like living in Duval for almost 6 years, it's like. Still a UP guy, whatever, but like, dude, this is my roots, right? Yeah. This is it right now. And I don't have any intention to go anywhere because it just feels cool to be a part of something. And it's like, you can come from being like a transient mindset in the military or growing up having that community, but dude, just do it again. Like it's super important, I feel, that people can just give back to something, right? There needs to be a percentage in my mind of their time and even money, or if your time is worth a lot of money, then your time is enough. But like giving back a certain percentage of your week or your month, like that has to be built in. Morgan,
I totally agree with what you're saying. I'm a board member on the Lee Arts Foundation in Carnation, also Valley 104.9, which is our local Snoqualmie Valley radio station.
The Jammies, baby. The Jammies every Friday night from 7 to 9. Tune in to the Jammies Valley.
But, I'm not getting paid for those. Those are.
Dude, the Jammies are the shit.
All right, I'll listen to it.
All right, come on, go listen to it. Get out of here.
Collective mayhem. But those are very important because those are two art-focused, two unique organizations in our community of the Lower Valley here that make us. I like to say keeping the valley funky because it like ties back to the roots of the valley that I grew up in, and then being on the board for the chamber too. That was an awesome opportunity, and it is an awesome opportunity. Yeah. But when I was asked, that was a no-brainer for me.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of time, which we've already talked about. None of us do as entrepreneurs, but that was something that I was like, well, I can't pass this up. This is a great opportunity to be on the board of the Chamber of Duval.
So we're just about to wrap this up. Enough monkey business. Let's get down to the final question here. You knew it was coming. I have a monkey. You gotta have a monkey. I don't know. They have the raddest mugs, dude. Like, I don't know.
Check, please.
Check. Not yet. So if somebody was on the fence, somebody is on the fence right now listening to this, what would be your one piece of advice to like go for entrepreneurism, or like what was your best piece of advice to that person that's just teetering, like I'm gonna do it, I'm not sure, and they're torn?
I think I would just say don't go it alone. Intention, right? Don't feel like you have to go through everything. I mean, support systems are huge, and I'm not talking about monetarily or anything else, but just getting friends and family excited about what you're doing and having them
That's good.
back you.
That's super good.
It'll get you through those tough times in the beginning when you start to plateau and you feel like you're not being successful. Having other folks as stakeholders in your success will bolster your ability to push through that. So again, I'm not saying go out and get partners and have folks like
Right.
monetarily invested in you, but just get that support system built up, and you'll probably be more successful even when the hard times come.
That's really good. It's really good.
I definitely agree with what Brandon said. It's key to have a support group and people supporting you.
Yeah.
Like it is in anything you do in life. But I would also suggest maybe not diving in full throttle. Ease your way into it.
Yeah.
Test the waters. Maybe have that side job too, or that main income, and then slowly divert your direction to your passion, right?
Well, let's be honest. Business is not a fluke thing, right? There's got to be some homework done, right?
For sure.
Being intentional about your plan.
being an event promoter in Antarctica, probably not business.
That's true.
Or being a wine guy.
Maybe it's a market that
you might be able
knows
to pull it off, dude. I don't know.
No, but honestly,
we're expanding.
Like
I get what you're saying.
wine makes sense here because wine is grown here, right? If I was in the Midwest where everything's simply an import, wouldn't make a whole lot of sense.
You give yourself a chance to succeed.
Right, so just do your homework and make sure that what you're looking to do is honestly viable. I mean, at the end of the day, you are looking to make money in most cases, so just make sure that there's a market for you.
Right, I agree with that.
Yeah. And I would
test the waters.
Yeah, test the waters.
Do some research.
I would just kind of expand a little bit on what Brandon said is, getting a support system. And, if you have a significant other at home, really just sitting down, having that heart to heart. And you got to at least just start right there with person one is you got to be on the same page. There's going to be some long hours, some early mornings, some late nights, and make sure you're on the same page. I think for your relationship, that's super healthy and important to do. And just the last thing I would say on any of it was kind of tie into one of my biggest mistakes is just planning out your business, right? But also just, you kind of joked about it, Morgan, but taxes, dude. Holy cow, my first year in real estate, said brokerage, they didn't teach taxes. They taught how to call your friends and try to sell them a house. Yeah. But dude, at the end of the year, the IRS is hey, guess what? You're an entrepreneur now. Where's my money? I don't have any. I barely had enough to get through the year, let alone pay you guys. So I think, that tax situation, again, we're not going to get into the details of that, but just these things actually are super important because you can get behind pretty quick if you're not talking to the right people or, getting the information from experienced, entrepreneurs like you guys.
More homework to do.
More homework to do. So
think about.
Still something I'm doing homework on.
Dude, it's always a learning curve, man. It's always a learning curve, new stuff. So, well, hey boys, thanks so much for the chop. So, cheers. Yeah, see, should have got a mug next time.